Now, I thought it's aye fine to hear a good sing-song at the all-meal meal. Now, are you in good voice? Did you promise to sing? I hope so, because everybody kens these songs. If there's one person I would have loved to have met, it was the great Harry Lauder, ladies and gentlemen. I just love his stuff, and I love all his songs, but there's so many of those well-kent songs, and we all ken the words. So we're going to tickle Jock a bit, we're going to be roaming in the gloaming, we're going to be keeping right on to the end of the road, and we're going to be loving a few lasses on the way is to Ardentiny. So will you join me? Here we go. Roaming in the gloaming, come on the bonny banks of Clyde. Can't I hear you? Roaming in the gloaming, we a lassie by my side. When the sun has gone to rest, that's the time that I love best. Oh, it's lovely roaming in the gloaming. Come on now, roaming in the gloaming on the bonny banks of Clyde. Roaming in the gloaming, we a lassie by my side. When the sun has gone to rest, that's the time that I love best. Oh, it's lovely roaming in the gloaming. I love a lassie, come on, a bonny, bonny lassie. She's as pure as the lily in the dell. She's as sweet as the heather, the bonny bloomin' heather, Mary Muscat's blue bell. Once again. Oh, I love a lassie, a bonny, bonny lassie. She's as pure as the lily in the dell. Aye, she's as sweet as the heather, the bonny bloomin' heather, Mary Muscat's blue bell. Aye, just a wee dock in Doris, just a wee drop, that's all. Just a wee dock in Doris, afore you can awa. There's a wee wifey waiting in a wee butt in Ben. If you can say, then you're alright, you can. Oh, just a wee dock in Doris, just a wee drop, that's all. Just a wee dock in Doris, afore you can awa. There's a wee wifey waiting in a wee butt in Ben. If you can say it's a brabrack mean like neck, then you're alright, you can. O'er the hill to Ardentiny, come on, just to see my bonny Jeannie, just to get one or a smile. I would walk 100 miles once again, o'er the hill to Ardentiny, just to see my bonny Jeannie, just to get one or a smile. I would walk 100 miles. There is somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, in a land where I wish that I could be. There is somebody waiting for me. Come on. There is somebody waiting for me in an old cabin down by the sea, in a land where I wish that I could be. There is somebody waiting for me. Would you stop your tickling joke? Come on, would you stop your tickling joke? I dinna mock my love so hearty, or you'll mock my joke. Well, I wish you'd stop your nonsense. Well, look at all the folk. Would you stop your tickling, tickling, stop your tickling joke? Would you stop your tickling joke? Come on, would you stop your tickling joke? I dinna mock my love so hearty, or you'll mock my joke. I wish you'd stop your nonsense. Well, look at all the folk. Would you stop your tickling, tickle-a-lickle-and stop your tickling joke? Keep right on to the end of the road. Keep right on to the end. Though the way be long, let your heart be strong. Keep right on round the bend. Though you're tired and weary, still journey on till you come to your happy abode, where all your love you'll be dreaming of, and be there at the end of the road. Oh, well done. Well done indeed.